Once upon a time, in a land far away, people spoke of fairies. Journey with me to take a closer look at folklore and the supernatural. Please join me for the Philly Ghost Town Professional Series. Watch Part 1 of Folklore, a closer look at the supernatural, an interview with Dr. Jeffrey Tolbert. Thank you so much, Jeff. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's good to see you in person, so to speak, Donna. And so my name is Jeff Tolbert. I'm a professor of American Studies and Folklore at Penn State Harrisburg. And I study primarily what we refer to as vernacular religion or vernacular belief. So I'm really interested in understanding how people have and interpret and process what we call supernatural experiences and how they relate those kinds of experiences to other parts of their lives. I'm also interested in the supernatural as it manifests in places like popular culture. I've done a lot of work in pop culture studies, and I do studies relating to digital cultures as well.
That is really cool.
Thank you.
And I have read some of your papers,
Oh, I'm
and
very sorry.
they are wonderful. Would you mind if I say where people could find them if they'd like to see
No,
them?
no, of course. Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
You can go to Google Scholar and you can search Jeffrey Tolbert, and you will see all his papers, and they're very interesting, so you can read them.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And something else special that you did that I really enjoyed, and I think would be so great if we could talk about it, maybe today, maybe later at some point, is where you studied for your PhD, because you are actually Dr. Jeffrey Tolbert, and you did something really interesting. So maybe you could tell us about it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so my PhD program was at Indiana University, which has a department of folklore and ethnomusicology. But as part of completing the PhD and doing the final project, the dissertation, most folklorists are expected to go and do field work related to their topic of interest. So for me, I was especially interested in Ireland and Irish supernatural belief. So I went to Ireland to do field work pertaining to, well, it ended up mostly pertaining to the fairies and fairy culture and fairy traditions in Ireland.
Which is
So
so
that was a
cool.
lot. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun and drank a lot of Guinness.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Yeah. So, what part of Ireland did you focus on mainly?
Well, while I was there, I lived in Dublin, but I traveled a lot
Okay.
to other places throughout the country from there. I traveled to the southwest to County Kerry and to County Tipperary, the south central part of the Republic of Ireland, and up to Donegal in the far northwest
Ah,
of the island.
okay.
Um, and also did some archival work in Dublin pertaining to fairy traditions from kind of all over the place. So I was sort of spread out, but I focused a good bit on Tipperary because I became friends with a farmer there who owned a place called Fairy Fort Farm.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so named, of course, because there was a fairy fort on the farm, which was, I mean, and of course it still exists. But Michael O'Donnell, the owner of the farm, who unfortunately has since passed away,
Oh,
um, was a really, really lovely and interesting man and had really interesting ideas about the fairies and his relationship to them. So that place became a prominent one in my approaches to the supernatural in Ireland.
great. Oh, do you would you happen to have any pictures?
Pictures, yes, or I can actually, I think the Ferry Fort Farm website is still online.
Oh, is it? Okay, you know
If,
what? Afterwards, I will look that up and I'll see if I can find the URL. Um,
okay, yeah,
and that'd be really
it's
cool.
ferryfortfarm.com, I think, if it's still up. Um, yeah, it's still up, although it looks, it's still sort of under construction. They've changed it around a bit, but ferryfortfarm.com.
Very
There's some good
nice.
images. Mike has kind of taken over management of the farm. They have a Facebook page too,
Oh, great. Okay.
or
Well,
a Facebook group, I guess. Yeah,
yeah, group for it. That's great. So those with interest can certainly join.
definitely.
Yeah. So, my one question I have, and I was telling a friend I was doing this interview, and she said, "Oh, I can't wait to see it." And she said, I have a question." And she said, "What was there something, some experience that really pointed you in the direction of becoming a folklorist? What interests you about it? Why was that your choice?"
Oh, that's a good question. Well, Ireland was a big part of it, actually. I studied abroad in Ireland when I was an undergraduate and just fell in love with the kind of ancient epic literary
Mm.
traditions, legends of the Finn McCool and the Fianna and Cuchulainn and the Red Branch of Ulster. All those old sort of legendary tales from the Middle Ages were really beautiful and compelling to me. And I just loved Ireland and Irish contemporary culture a lot. So that was a big factor, probably the deciding factor. Also, believe it or not, I really like scary stuff. I like scary movies and scary video games,
Hmm.
and horror is one of my areas of research. I mentioned I do pop culture stuff as well.
Yeah,
Um,
just to interject, I think a lot of people who follow me on would be very interested to read about that, which is
oh,
also why I would point them to your work that is
oh,
published.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's there's a lot of crossover, I think, in terms of the kinds of assumptions that people have about supernatural traditions. I mean, so much of what people know or believe in some cases about ghosts, for example, is filtered through popular media,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
horror films, and especially some of the recent batch of films that purport to be based on like the work of Ed and Lorraine Warren, for example, the
Oh,
famous
yeah.
demonologists involved in the Amityville haunting and a number of other really prominent cases.
Hmm.
The Conjuring series of horror films and all of their spin-offs are loosely based on the real life figures of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So I think those things have an impact on where people get some of their ideas from. So the belief stuff and the popular culture stuff there are a lot of crossovers there.
It it has a place. Absolutely.
Mhm.